Krishna.
Hare Krishna to all the devotees. Dandavat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you, Hari Hari Bol to all the devotees who led the chanting. To His Grace Ramchandra Prabhu, Pawan Prabhuji, and Ritesh Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshitarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome everybody and happy Padmini Ekadasi to all of you. This is a very, very auspicious Ekadashi because it comes in the very, very auspicious month of Purushottama Maas, which comes only once in 3 years. So this Ekadashi by the name of Padmini is also very special because it comes only in this special month. So this is the first Ekadashi, and we'll of course have one more Ekadashi, 2 Ekadashis in this month. So they are very, very auspicious. Okay, so let's continue. Glories of this Purushottama Maas as we have been singing. So yesterday we started reciting the Chaurashtakam prayers, which should be especially sung in this month of Purushottama Maas, glorifying Lord Shri Krishna. And Krishna is, who else can be glorified as a thief, right? The butter thief. Not only butter thief, but he steals so many other things. He steals the clothes of the gopis. He steals all the sins that you have accumulated from millions and millions of lifetimes. That is not possible by anybody else in the whole creation except by the Supreme Lord. So he is being glorified as the not only the Supreme Personality of God, but he is also the Supreme Chor, and he likes to be called that, right? You can call somebody else Chor, they will be offended, but Krishna likes to be called Chor, not by anybody else, but by his pure devotees. So that is what Bilwamangala Thakur is praying. So let's recite this bhajan. व्रजे प्रसिद्धं नवनीतचौरं गोपाङ्गनानां च दुकूलचौरम् अनेकजन्मार्जितपापचौरं चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि श्रीराधिकाया हृदयस्य चौरं नवाम्बुदश्यामला कान्तिचौरम् पदाश्रितानां च समस्तचौरं चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि अकिञ्चनीकृत्य पदाश्रितं यः करोति भिक्षुं पथि गेहहीनं केनाप्यहो भीषणचौरायिदृग् दृष्टश्रुतो वा न जगत्त्रयेऽपि यदि अनामापहृत्य अशेषं गिरिप्रसारान् अपि पापराशिन् आश्चर्यरूपो ननु चौरायिदृग् दृष्टश्रुतो वा न माया कदापि धनं च मनं च तथेन्द्रियाणि प्राणांश हृत्वा मम सर्वम् एव पलायसे कुत्र धृतोद्यचौरा त्वं भक्तिदाम्नासि माया निरुद्ध क्षीणत्सि घोरं यमपाशबन्धं भीनत्सि भीमं भव पाशबन्धं क्षीणत्सि सर्वस्य समस्तबन्धं नैवात्मनो भक्तकृतं तु बन्धं मन्मानसे तामसाराशि घोरे कराग्रहे दुःखमये निबद्ध लभस्व हि चौरा हरिचिराय स्वचौर्यदोषोचितमेव दण्डम् कराग्रहे वस सदा हृदये मदीये मद्भक्तिपाशदृढबन्धननिश्चलः सन् त्वां कृष्ण हे प्रलयकोटिशतान्तरेऽपि सर्वस्वचौरहृदयान् नहि मोचयामि हरे कृष्णा Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. श्री चौराष्टकम की जय. श्री बिल्वमंगल ठाकुर महाशय की जय. जगतगुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की जय. Anybody would like to take up the service of reading translation?
I can read, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Shri Mataji.
I offer my respectful obeisances to that foremost of thieves, who is famous in Raj as a butter thief, and he who steals a gopi's clothes, and who, for those who take shelter of him, steals the sins which have accrued over many lifetimes. I offer my respectful obeisances to the foremost of thieves, who steals Srimati Radhika's heart, who steals the dark luster of a fresh rain cloud, and who steals all the sins and sufferings of those who take shelter of his feet. He turns his surrendered devotees into paupers and wandering, homeless beggar. Alas, such a fearsome thief has never been seen or heard of in all the three worlds. Mere utterance of his name purges one of a mountain of sins. Such an astonishingly wonderful thief I have never seen or heard of anywhere. O thief, having stolen my wealth, my honor, my senses, my life, and my everything, where can you run to? I have caught you with a rope of my devotion. You cut the terrible noose of Yamraj. You sever the dreadful noose of material existence, and you slash everyone's material bondage, but you are unable to cut the knot fastened by your own loving devotees. O stealer of my everything, O thief, today I have imprisoned you in the miserable prison, house of my heart, which is very fearful due to the terrible darkness of my ignorance, and there for a very long time you will remain, receiving appropriate punishment for your crimes of thievery. O Krishna, thief of my everything, the noose of my devotion remaining forever tight, you will continue to reside in the prison house of my heart, because I'll not release you for millions of years. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for binding Krishna in your heart. Shri Mataji. Okay. Anything you want to share? Anything that you liked from this prayer?
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Like, the first part tells that how Krishna is a thief, and the later part he says that how I have bound you in my heart. So it's like I'm just processing because it's the first time I'm reading it, and it's so beautiful. Especially when I think the sixth point or somewhere he says that um you are like you have bound me, even if you are a thief, but now you are unable to cut that knot fastened by your own loving devotees, and he's a thief, but you can bound him only by devotion. It's such a contradictory statement, yet so beautiful that he's a thief, but then you can bound him, with your own love. So yeah, that's
Yes. That's so beautiful. Like you said, yes, it's such a beautiful prayer. And it can only come from the heart of pure devotees, right? So Shri Bilamanga Thakur, and doesn't matter, right? Bilamanga Thakur, we read the story, how he was, he was living a very degraded life, even though he was born in a very nice Brahmana family, but he lost his track and he got influenced by wine, women, right? All of that, and then, but towards the end of life, he realized his mistake when Chintamani told him, kind of she became his guru, right? And he says, the amount of affection you have for me as a prostitute, if the same amount of affection you had for Krishna, your life will be transformed. That an instruction was like she became his Shiksha Guru, and then that was a transformative point in his life. And you see then what happened and how he went, and even after that he was still kind of deviated from his path when he was going back, and he again got influenced by another woman, another lady's beauty, and then finally decided to prick his own eyes and become blind because these senses are dragging him away from the Lord. So, but yeah, with that complete surrender, as a blind man, he went to Vrindavan, and then Krishna comes as a little cowherd boy to, personally take hold of him, catch hold of his hands, and then take him to Vrindavan. And yes, so we see, from the again and again from so many of these stories, and these are all very instructive moral lessons that no matter what we may have done in our millions and millions of lifetimes before, all sins that we may have accumulated, only Krishna has the power to destroy all those sins in a fraction of a second, even as big as mountains of sins. And not only he says here in the fourth here, it says that mere utterance of his name purges one of the mountains of sins. Or what to speak of Krishna himself coming, because his name and him are not different. So just utterance of his name, that's why in this yuga it is only Kali Kali Nam Rupa Krishna Avatar. So just by chanting his holy name, all of these sins can be destroyed. So it doesn't matter what our past has been. Like I say, past is vast, but the present is a gift, right, that we have to make use of, so that our future is not a torture. So we can always forget our past. Krishna forgives, so it should not be a concern. But what we can do right now, right here, that is what matters. So we should take to this process of loving devotional service, and then the Lord reciprocates, because as you said rightly, he is only bound by his pure devotion of his devotees. Yes, so a lot of things that we can learn from this beautiful prayer, and we can start taking action. We can learn a lot of things, but unless we apply it in our lives, there is no point. So you have to start taking action right here, right now. Okay, so by doing this, by joining the Japa call, and on this auspicious occasion of Padmini Ekadasi, what can be more auspicious and more spiritually uplifting than starting our day with these beautiful prayers? Okay, so in Purushottama, we are also doing double the mercy of the Lord. So I'll also recite this Radhikashtakam, and then we'll continue with the reading of Prabhupada's Krishna book. Kumkumakta kanchanabja garvahari gaurabha Kumkumapta kanchanabja garvahari gaurabha Pitananchitabja gandha kirti nindi saurabha Pallavesha shunu sarva vanchitartha sadhika Mayyamatma pada padma dasya dastu radhika Kauravinda kanti nindi chitra patta shatika Krishna matta bringa keli phulla pushpa vatika Krishna nitya sangamartha padma bandhu radhika Mayyamatma pada padma dasya dastu radhika Saukumari shrishta pallavali kirti nigraha Chandra chandanotpalendu sevya shita vigraha Swabhimarsha ballavisha kamatapabadika Mayyamatma pada padma dasya dastu radhika Vishwavandya yavataभिवन्दितापि यारमा रूपनव्ययौवनादि सम्पदान यत्सम शीलहार्दलीलया च सायतोऽसि नादिका मह्यमात्मपादपद्मदास्य दास्तु राधिका रासलास्य गीतनर्म सत्कलालि पण्डिता प्रेमरम्यरूपवेश सद्गुणालिमण्डिता विश्वनव्यगोपयोषित आलितोऽपि यादिका मह्यमात्मपादपद्मदास्य दास्तु राधिका नित्यनव्यरूपकेलि कृष्णभावसम्पदा कृष्णरागबन्धगोपयौवतेषु कम्पदा कृष्णरूपवेशकेलि लग्नसत्समाधिका मह्यमात्मपादपद्मदास्य दास्तु राधिका स्वेदकम्पकण्टकाश्रुगद्गदादिसञ्चिता मर्षहर्षवा वामतादिभावभूषणाञ्चिता कृष्णनेत्रतोषिरत्नमण्डनालिदादिका मह्यमात्मपादपद्मदास्य दास्तु राधिका याक्षणार्धकृष्णविप्रयोगसन्ततोदिता नेकदैन्यचापलादिभाववृन्दमोदिता यत्नलब्धकृष्णसङ्गनिर्गताखिलादिका मह्यमात्मपादपद्मदास्य दास्तु राधिका अष्टकेन यस्त्वनेन नौति कृष्णवल्लभां दर्शनेऽपि शैलजादियोषितालिदुर्लभाम् कृष्णसङ्गम नन्दितात्मदास्यसि दुभाजनं तं करोति नन्दितालि सञ्चयाशु साजनम् मह्यमात्मपादपद्मदास्य दास्तु राधिका मह्यमात्मपादपद्म दास्य दास्तु राधिका श्री राधिकाष्टकम की जय. Okay, let's continue with chapter 14 of Krishna book, so which is the prayers by Lord Brahma. Yesterday we saw Brahmaji is praying to Krishna that all the love of these Brajavasis, Krishna will not be able to repay their debt. He may repay everything else in the world, like he can destroy all these sins in our heart, but for those who are purely devoted to him, he will never be able to repay the debt, and that is why he is forever bound by his pure devotees in their hearts, right? And he who can free up everybody else from their sins, he cannot free himself up from the pure heart of his devotees, because he doesn't want himself to be freed. He always wants to reside. He says, right, that I reside in the core of the heart of my devotees, and my devotees reside in the core of my heart. So that is what the Lord's promise is. And that is what Brahmaji was praying yesterday, that you are the supreme, but you are bound by the pure love of these Brajavasis. Okay, we'll continue from here. Anybody else would like to read today?
I can read, Prabhu. No.
Yes, Srimati. Yeah.
No. My dear Lord Krishna, your very name suggests that you are all attractive. The attraction of the sun and the moon are all due to you. By the attraction of the sun, you are beautifying the very existence of the Yadu dynasty. With the attraction of the moon, you are enhancing the potency of the land, the demigods, the brahmanas, the cows, and the oceans. Because of your supreme attraction, demons like Kamsa and others are annihilated. Therefore, it is my deliberate conclusion that you are the only worshipable deity within the creation. Accept my humble obeisances until the annihilation of this material world. As long as there is sunshine within this material world, kindly accept my humble obeisances. In this way, Brahma, the master of this universe, after offering humble and respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and circumambulating him 3 times, was ready to return to his abode known as Brahmaloka. By his gesture, the Supreme Personality of Godhead gave him permission to return. As soon as Brahma left, Lord Sri Krishna immediately returned to the bank of Yamuna and rejoined his calves and cowherd boyfriends who were situated just as they had been on the very day they had vanished. Krishna had left his friends on the bank of Yamuna while they were engaged in lunch, and although he returned exactly 1 year later, the cowherd boys thought that he had returned within a second. That is where Krishna's different energies act. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna himself is residing in everyone's heart and he causes both remembrance and forgetfulness. All living entities are controlled by the supreme energy of the Lord. Okay, and sometimes they remember and sometimes they forget their constitutional position. His friends, being controlled in such a way, could not understand that for 1 whole year they were absent from the Yamuna's bank and were under the spell of Brahma's illusion. When Krishna appeared before the boys, they thought, Krishna has returned within a minute. They began to laugh, thinking that Krishna was not willing to leave their lunchtime company. They were very jubilant and invited him. Dear friend Krishna, you have come back so quickly. All right, we have not as yet begun our lunch, not even taken one morsel of food. So please come and join us and let us eat together. Krishna smiled and accepted their invitation, and he began to enjoy the lunchtime company of his friends. While eating, Krishna was thinking, these boys believe that I have come back within a second, but they do not know that for the last year I have been involved with the mystic activities of Lord Brahma. After finishing their lunch, Krishna and his friends and calves began to return to their Vrajbhumi homes. While passing, they enjoyed seeing the dead carcass of Aghasura in the shape of a gigantic serpent. When Krishna returned home to Vrajbhumi, he was seen by all the inhabitants of Vrindavan. He was wearing a peacock feather in his helmet, which was also decorated with forest flowers. Krishna was also garlanded with flowers and painted with different colored minerals collected from the caves of Govardhan Hill. Govardhan Hill is always famous for supplying natural red oxides, and Krishna and his friends painted their bodies with them. Each of them had a bugle made of buffalo horn and stick and a flute, and each called his respective calves by their particular names. The cowherd boys were so proud of Krishna's wonderful activities that, while entering the village, they all sang his glories. All the gopis in Vrindavan saw beautiful Krishna entering the village. The boys composed nice songs describing how they were saved from being swallowed by the great serpent and how the serpent was killed. Some described Krishna as the son of Yashoda and others as the son of Nanda Maharaj. He is so wonderful that he saved us from the clutches of the great serpent and killed him, they said, but little did they know that 1 year had passed since the killing of Aghasura. In this regard, Maharaj Parikshit asked Sukdev Goswami how the inhabitants of Vrindavan suddenly developed so much love for Krishna, although he was not a member of any of their families. Maharaj Parikshit inquired, during the absence of the original cowherd boys, when Krishna expanded himself, why is it that the boys' parents became more loving towards him than towards their own sons? Also, why did the cows become so loving towards the calves more than towards their own calves? Sukdev Goswami told Maharaj Parikshit that every living entity is actually most attached to his own self. Outward paraphernalia, such as home, family, friends, country, society, wealth, opulence, and reputation, are all only secondary in pleasing the living entity. They please only because they bring pleasure to the self. For this reason, one is self centered and is attached to his body and self more than he is to relatives like wife, children, and friends. If there is some immediate danger to one's own person, he first of all takes care of himself, then others. That is natural. That means he loves his own self more than anything else. The next the next important object of affection after his own self is his material body. A person who has no information of the spirit soul is very much attached to his material body, so much so that even in old age he wants to preserve the body in so many artificial ways, thinking that his old and broken body can be saved. Everyone is working hard day and night just to give pleasure to his own self under either the bodily or spiritual concept of life. We are attached to material possessions because they give pleasure to the senses or to the body. The attachment to the body is there only because the I, the spirit soul, is within the body. Similarly, when one is further advanced, he knows that the spirit soul is pleasing because it is part and parcel of Krishna. Ultimately, it is Krishna who is pleasing and all attractive. He is the super soul of everything, and in order to give us this information, Krishna descends and tells us that the all attractive center is He Himself. Without being an expansion of Krishna, nothing can be attractive. Whatever is attractive within the cosmic manifestation is due to Krishna. Krishna is therefore the reservoir of all pleasure. The active principle of everything is Krishna, and highly elevated transcendentalists see everything in connection with him. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is stated that the Mahabhagavat or highly advanced devotees see Krishna as the active principle in all moving and non moving living entities. Therefore, he sees everything within this cosmic manifestation in relation to Krishna. For the fortunate person who has taken shelter of Krishna as everything, liberation is already there. He is no longer in the material world. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Whoever is engaged in the devotional service of Krishna is already on the Brahma Bhuta or spiritual platform. The very name Krishna suggests piety and liberation. Anyone who takes shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna enters the boat of crossing over the ocean of nations. For him, this vast expanse of the material manifestation becomes as insignificant as the water in a calf's hoof print. Krishna is the shelter of all great souls, and he is also the shelter of the material worlds. For one who is on the platform of Krishna consciousness, Vaikuntha or the spiritual world, it is not far away. He does not live within the material world where there is danger at every step. In this way, Krishna consciousness was fully explained to Maharaj Parikshit by Sukdev Goswami as he recited to the king the statements and prayers of Lord Brahma. These descriptions of Lord Krishna's pastimes with his cowherd boys, his eating with them on the bank of Yamuna, and Lord Brahma's prayers unto him are all transcendental subject matters. Anyone who hears, recites, or chants them surely gets all his spiritual desires fulfilled. Thus, Krishna's childhood pastimes, his sporting with Balram, and the cowherd boys in Vrindavan were described. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 14th chapter of Krishna, prayers offered by Lord Brahma to Lord Krishna.
We can read this also for a couple of minutes. Yes,
Chapter 15, the killing of Dhenukasur. In this way, Sri Krishna, along with his elder brother Balram, passed the childhood age known as Kaumara and stepped into the age of Poganda from the 6th year up to the 10th. At that time, all the cowherd men conferred and agreed to give those boys who had passed their 5th year charge of the cows in the pasturing ground. Given charge of the cows, Krishna and Balram traversed Vrindavan, purifying the land with their lotus footprints. Accompanied by the cowherd boys and Balram, Krishna brought forward the cows and played on his flute as he entered the forest of Vrindavan, which was full of flowers, vegetation, and pasturing grass. The Vrindavan forest was as sanctified as the clear mind of a devotee and was full of bees, flowers, and fruits. There were chirping birds and clear water lakes with waters that could relieve one of all fatigue. Sweet smelling breezes blew always, refreshing the mind and body. Krishna, with his friends and Balram, entered the forest and, seeing the favorable situation, desired to enjoy the atmosphere to the fullest extent. Krishna saw all the trees overloaded with fruits and fresh twigs, bending down to touch the ground as if welcoming him by touching his lotus feet. He was very pleased by the behavior of the trees, fruits, and flowers, and he began to smile, realizing their desires. Krishna then spoke to his elder brother Balram as follows: My dear brother, you are superior to all of us, and your lotus feet are worshipped by the demigods. Just see how these trees, full with fruits and flowers, have bent down to worship your lotus feet. It appears that they are trying to get out of the darkness that has obliged them to accept the form of trees. Actually, the trees born in the land of Vrindavan are not ordinary living entities. Having held the impersonal point of view in their past lives, they have been put into this stationary condition of life, but now they have the opportunity of seeing you in Vrindavan, and they are praying for further advancement in spiritual life through your personal association.
pause here. Thank you, Shri Mataji. With association with Sadhu Sangha. Okay. Anything you want to share? Anything that you liked from today's reading?
Yes, Prabhu, it was so beautiful. I thought like I'll just keep reading, it's like you're just
Sorry, I
trans.
had to stop you. You were in transcendental ecstasy.
But it just transports you to Vrindavan, and you just I think you all have that spiritual desire to. We wish that we can just go back to that time and eat lunch with Krishna, and just how cows and calves and their friends are with them. I really wish I can just see that pastime and enter that pastime one day. Yeah,
Yes.
Prabhu, so many things, the previous chapter, especially when Krishna's, it's so innocent of the coward boys that they are like, oh Krishna, we are waiting for you, and like it's just like our life, where we think that we are doing so many things, and but Krishna is just right there in our heart as a super soul, and he's just observing us, that this person is doing so much, um, and sometimes you do some things and he might be just right there and smiling and laughing. So that's what I was thinking, that he's seeing everything, he's in our heart, so he's just observing. It's said in Bhagavatam, right? I said that I think that there are two parrots. One is the super soul, who is a Krishna, who is observing, and one parrot is the soul itself, that who is doing everything. And it's the parrot is waiting, the super soul is waiting for the another parrot to turn towards him, that when this soul will turn towards me. So that was something which I remembered. And also I just got transported to the when I went to Vrindavan recently on my India trip. I was doing the Giriraj Parikrama, and I was looking at the Giriraj and it just seems so transcendental, when Prabhupada says that everything is transcendental about Krishna. Like we are discussing that Krishna is having lunch with his friends. We won't be discussing any other boys or girls having lunch, right? Like it's just so ordinary because Krishna is having lunch with his friends. That's why it's transcendental and that's why we are discussing it. So anything where Krishna is involved, it becomes just transcendental. So yeah, I was observing the Giriraj, and it just uh, any ordinary mountain versus Giriraj, it's so different. When you see that, you just feel so much peace, and yeah, it's just very different. You just see it, and even if the person who doesn't have devotion in their heart or who doesn't know about Krishna consciousness or anything, even if he or she sees the mountain, they will automatically know that this is something different, at least, But yeah, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, we have that vision that to see that this is not an ordinary and how Krishna has touched that mountain, how Krishna has performed pastimes around that, and yeah, it just becomes so auspicious.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Yes, very beautiful reflections. Yeah, like you said, it is only with Krishna. Yes, we can have that spiritual ecstasy comes as a spiritual vibes. That's exactly what all the devotees feel when they go to sadhu sangha. Right, when we're in the bliss of kirtan, we we are transported to a different realm altogether, the spiritual realm, wherever the names of the Lord are chanted, heard, glorified, and devotees come in association with each other and perform devotional services, acts of devotional services. Then yes, we are not in the material world anymore. Yeah, and like that point that we were reading about, like you said, how the cowherd boys were enjoying the lunch, and they didn't even realize that the whole year had passed. For them, it was just a fraction of a second that they felt, oh, Krishna, you came back so quickly, right? But so similar is our case also, right? We have spent so many millions and millions of lifetimes away from Krishna, turning away from him, right? But when that moment comes, when we become Krishna conscious by the mercy of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, then it just feels like a fraction of a second. It just feels like 1 second, and that's what Prabhupada says, that it takes only 1 second, to become Krishna conscious, right? So I was just remembering that past time when one of Prabhupada's disciples told him, "You have committed so many sins, Prabhupada. What is the hope for us? What will happen? How many lives it will take?" He says, "Have you not read Bhagavad Gita?" He says, "Sarvadharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayami ma shucha." I will remove all your sins. It just takes 1 second. So yeah, like that, that point, Krishna was kind of smiling, and he says, it's been more than a year I've been performing my mystic pastimes, and these kids are thinking that it's just been 1 second. But anyway, so that is what we also pray, that it may just be 1 second and we can become Krishna conscious. Okay. Yeah, and then pure advanced devotees, as we also read. I was actually yesterday only I was reading that shloka from Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's wonderful. Many times Prabhupada speaks to us, through different things. But yeah, the point that he was mentioning about Stavara Jangama Dekhe Na Dekhe Tara Murti. So advanced devotees, when they see movable and immovable things, Stavara or Jangama, whether they are stationary like these trees, or whether any moving objects or entities, they don't see the form, just the form of that entity. But it says that Stavara Jangam Dekhe Na Dekhe Tara Murti Sarvatra Haya Nija Ishtadev Spurti. Everywhere, wherever a pure devotee turns, he sees the form of the Lord. So actually yesterday, during our lunchtime, we usually watch some drama, RG media drama, or some spiritual devotional things with the kids. So yesterday the kids were watching this AI movie of Mirabai, and there when we were watching that Mirabai, when she was um, being tortured by Rana ji, after her husband had passed away, and then she was performing devotional service in the Mahal, and you know he was just like Prahlad Maharaj was being tried to kill by Hiranyakashipu. Mirabai was being given so many tortures by the Rana, and there we were seeing that how she was first given poison, and then the poison becomes like Charanamrita, because she treats that as a Charanamrita of the Lord, and then she drinks it, right? So it's transformed into Charanamrita. And then once he sends a big lion into her good place, the palace where she is living, and she immediately her dasis who are there, to couple of dasis, they go running to her, says, "Oh, Rana has sent a big lion to kill you," and says, "No, it is only my Lord. It cannot be anybody else. Nobody else can come close to me. It's always only Krishna who is closest to me." So when she walks close to the lion just sits down, and it's almost as if I remember. It's almost like you were saying the Narsimha movie the other day. Right? It's almost feeling like Lord Narsimha has come there, and she's just doing the arati. She puts a tilak, she puts a garland around the lion. The lion blesses her, and then the lion leaves. And then the soldiers who are watching this are kind of astonished, right? So yeah, so that's the vision of a pure devotee, that they only see the Lord in anything and everything around them. So yeah, hopefully someday we can have that iota or drop of such vision, as we are trying to remember Krishna through the different verses in Bhagavad Gita. Buddhir buddhimatam asmi. And Krishna says, "I am the intelligence of the intelligent." So anybody would like to share? Anything else? Any remembrance of the Lord? I did share all our remembrances in our class last Saturday, when I had to give the talk on 7.14 Bhagavad Gita, and I mentioned that we have been doing these for the last couple of months now, and I shared all those pictures that you all had shared in the WhatsApp group. So thank you for sharing. Shriya Mataji, Aarti Mataji, and Priya Radhika Mataji, Adi Guru Prabhu, and many other devotees. All of us had shared our reflections on these, how we are trying to remember Krishna. Yes, and whatever little we are able to do, that is also the intelligence is coming from Krishna himself. So that is how we can remember. Whenever we have some spark of brilliance that we experience in our lives, we can remember that this is you, O Krishna, and thank you for coming into my intelligence, into my brain, and you're now from the brain, may you come into my heart. Okay, all right, with that, let's pause here. Anybody else would like to say anything, share anything before we wrap up for today? All right, then let's conclude here for today. Thank you all for joining and giving your association, taking association from Srila Prabhupada on this most auspicious day of Padmini Ekadasi. Hope everybody has a wonderful, blissful day ahead, and you can chant one or two or many extra rounds and remember the Lord as you go through your day. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंतकोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्री पुरुषोत्तम अधिक मास की जय, पद्मिनी एकादशी की जय, श्री कृष्ण द सुप्रीम पर्सनालिटी ऑफ गॉडहेड की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि
Hare Hare Bol. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.